Welcome back to Watercolor Studio 42, and I'm going to kind of be a little bit more informative today, hopefully. I've been asked, you start right off and make a quick sketch sometimes, and then decide what color you're going to use and decide what subject you're going to paint. Those things you kind of decide a little bit ahead of time. But for myself, I work mostly from photographs, from calendar pictures, or magazines, whatever. And sometimes you get these magazines, like I get Country Magazine, and I like country things, grist mills and covered bridges and all that sort of thing. Those are subjects that people like. And as far as woodland goes, landscape pictures, I've had pretty good luck with birch trees over the years. And so I do a lot of birch scenes, country roads going down to whatever, and that type of thing. Now, today I'm going to kind of start off here, and one thing I've been doing lately, I've been working smaller, lighter, so forth. And usually I have been in the past even framing some of my work. Of course, if you're going to put work in art shows, you usually have to have it framed and protected. Especially watercolors, you're protected with plexiglass or regular glass. But if you go too large, then you have to use plexiglass for the safety factors. Somebody hits the painting, and if you have regular glass, it could spatter all over the place. So you have to you keep in mind the safety factor also. And usually they don't like to use that tiger tooth or whatever they call that tooth, whatever animal. They don't want you to use that because it can pop off the nail or the hook on the wall easy by just hitting the bottom. So the safest thing is to use the eye screws and with a wire, and hang the picture so it doesn't pop up easy and fall on the floor, break. Especially if you're doing watercolors with real glass. So I've been doing smaller sizes. Now, this is the most common size that you might consider. This happens to be 8 by 10. And most of the photographs of high school graduation pictures, etc., are usually this particular size, and most popular. So what I've done here is I put some tape around the sides. The width of the tape is about 1 inch, and so it makes a lot of a false matte. And I'll show you how that works when we get through here. I'm probably going to spend a little bit more time on showing you a few things how to get started. I usually do this if I'm going to do a picture sometimes, and if I'm not going to actually put a cut mat on the work, I'll do it this way and just make a false mat, and you'll see how it comes out. You have to make sure you press it on the inside so none of the paint gets underneath there, so you get a nice clean cut edge when you remove the tape. Now, this is just pretty good size. You can start either, vertically or horizontally. I usually put, I'll take my pencil, if I can find a pencil or marker or whatever here. Let me use a marker so it shows up a little better. At home, I always sketch with a pencil, but today I'm going to do a little bit with the marker. Now, what I usually do is estimate what would be the halfway, elongated this way and horizontally. I got pretty good at estimating without measuring. If you feel more comfortable measuring, the halfway, okay, something like this. and you can connect those lines. Now where those lines cross each other, that gives you approximately the center. That would be approximately this way and that way. It gives you the center, so that when you're lining up your drawing, I usually keep it a little bit off center. Okay? Now, I'm going to be doing a simple picture today. I'm just going to use a sort of a vase shape with some flowers in it. Okay? And it's a smaller picture to begin with. So now, here's where we go. Just got to get some paint out, get that ready. Okay. Now, you got your water. If you're left-handed, you keep your water, the colors over to your left side, so that you're not going across your paper too much, because you may have some paint on the brush that drops on your paper where you don't want it to go. So if you're coming in from the side that you're left-handed or right-handed with, you put the paint and the water on that side. I'm left-handed, so I keep my water, my palette on the left side. Okay? And what I do is I usually have some paper towels handy. You can use anything. You can use a regular towels, roll of towels, and fold it up, make it look almost like a napkin size thing. And but I keep that handy over here. And I have my pictures. I can either do a picture of one thing, one large shape of something, this case being a flower, daisy, or you can have something that's similar to, I had another picture here, but I'll show you this one. It's kind of small to look at. Maybe the overhead camera can pick this one up. Now, this is a cluster. Now, usually I do an uneven number. You can have one flower sticking out of the vase. You can have two. The only trouble is the two, they look like rabbit ears, something that we used to have with the TV set, But the third thing, that kind of helps a lot. You can have that third, that uneven numbers, 3, 5, 7, whatever. But in this particular little picture here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 flowers. So that's still an uneven number. One can be considered not even, of course, uneven. Okay, now let's see. Here we go. I had another picture here somehow. Probably. Oh, here it is. This one's a little bit larger. Now, this is, I do this a lot of times. I'll do a painting that has no vase. I just have the flowers kind of fade out on the bottom and so forth. Like this one, similar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Uneven number. And of course you could have 3, 1, 2, 3 that way, or 1, 2, 3 this way. You could break it up. I usually consider like a curve, how I arrange the flowers, 1, 2, 3. Now, here's another thing. A lot of people have trouble if they're going to have a vase in the picture, how to get one side the same as the other. Now, you can have it a little bit distorted if you want. So one side doesn't always have to be exactly the same as the other. If you've ever done pottery work, you've seen all sorts of variations of contour shapes. Okay, now, I'm going to start at the bottom. You can draw this out first if you want, or you can just start cutting. Start cutting from the bottom and decide how wide you want it to be. You can curve the bottom just slightly, start off with a little bit of a curve, but you want to make sure the bottom is somewhat flat. Bring it right in. Now, if you want the flowers to be kind of in a tight, upright position, you don't want the top of the vase to be too wide, okay? So this is what happens if you make the top of the vase too wide. You can see what happens here, that when you open it up, and you want to put flowers inside of this, the flowers are going to flip-flop and bend out over the sides more. So I probably wouldn't keep the vase too wide unless you're purposely putting them into a rectangular pot or whatever to begin with. Okay, now let's trim this down here. Let's bring this in like this now. Okay, let's see what I'm doing here. Bring it in so that the top is less. Okay, see how you have less of that? So you got a nice wide base so that when this thing sits on the table or whatever, it doesn't tip over easy. You put the water in holds more water this way, and also it has a narrower neck. Now you can change the neck any way you want it to go. You can do these things at random. You can cut whatever you want, and like you get enough of this piece here to change the shape. Some people like to do more geometric shapes, so I'm just going to make this one more of a triangle and whatnot, so that one side can be a little bit out of whack with the other. You see how I've done that shape? Now, if I don't want that to be too sharp here, let's turn the corner and bring it this way. There you go. See how you can vary the shapes out of these scrap pieces of paper. Okay, now, let's get this out of your way. Now, I'm going to use this one today, and now, we know where the center is because we've indicated kind of where the center is vertically as well as horizontally. Okay, so if I don't want the vase to be dead center, I can move it a little bit to the right of or to the left of. And what that does is changes the background, the shape of the background. So it makes it more interesting. You could put it up too high, you don't have room for the flowers, right? So let's drop this down. Now, we don't have quite enough room for the flowers. I always like the flowers to be probably at least the same height as the vase, above the vase. So in this case, this vase might be a little bit too tall. So what we do in that case, we fold this back up and change the whole thing. Bring everything in a little bit shorter, okay? How's that? Now we have that shaped vase, almost like a perfume bottle or whatever. Now, shaving cream, men's lotion, whatever. But now we've made this a little bit shorter, and if you want to go even a little bit more so, let's take a little bit more off of that. This looks like it would fit pretty good compared to what we've got there to work with. So now you take your marker or pencil, probably a pencil. I'm going to use a marker. I'm going to turn this over so I keep the fold flatter. Okay, and we just trace around this. Now you can do that kind of quick. You don't have to be too fussy with it. Let's see. All right, down here and up the side. Okay, it just gives you the idea of the vase. And if you want to go over that even little darker, use a little heavier marker, and this can be this side here. It goes around, the bottom comes across flat, okay? Then we come down this side, go this way, and make it just about the same as the other side. Let's put this a little bit across the top. Okay, so it goes that way. All right, now, you can put one flower in the vase, or you can have two. The only trouble, I said, kind of looks like rabbit ears. So what you want to do is introduce somewhere here that third stem. I'm going to make that even longer at the bottom. And that might go up into there. Okay, something like that. So you can see the difference. Now, because this is a little bit offset, the table in back can have it could be here, and you can have it over here. See, the distance is shorter, and just round it off there. Okay? Now, when you're doing flowers sometimes, some people have a little trouble with flowers. So what I usually do is I make the flowers like a donut. So can I find another piece of paper? I think these scraps, well, maybe I can get something out of this one. Just cut out a circle. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle. Okay? It doesn't have to be a perfect circle. It can be a little bit oval, depending on the flower. Now, I don't know if this shape is going to be small enough for the proportion. I think probably in this case, I'd have to make the circle about the size of a penny. So we'll bring this in a little bit more. Now, you could trace something. You could trace a circle. I'm doing it freehand here, but you can take time off and trace around any circle object that you have in the room. Okay, that's not too bad. And now you're going to put a little bit of a little button in the middle here. So I could go one here. Let's use my pen again. And we're going to have one flower going over here, like this way. We could put something else out here. I got these kind of tight here. Okay. But nevertheless, now I usually put them in freehand anyway. You can have something down here. So you get your 1, 2, 3. Now, you could probably settle on this as being maybe pretty much all you need for your sketch, okay? I don't spend a lot of time on the drawing part. If you want to indicate a little bit more detail, you can just indicate where the center might be. I put a little shape in there for the center of the flower, something like that. If you're going to have petals, you can break it up a little bit around the edges when you paint it in, okay? Now, that almost fits on there pretty well. Probably I might lower the vase down a little bit more so it doesn't hit the top. So I keep that open, whatever you happen to do. So now, if you want to add something else to this, you could put some other little stems coming out, but they don't have to be flowers. They could be some sort of a little plant, but just to kind of do something with that area and whatnot. Again, that's 2. So if you want to get a third something, you can squeeze something up in here. Okay? This can go out a little further here. Sometimes I put a little crink, maybe some texture into the table, whatever you want to do with that. But that's about the size of the how much drawing. Okay? So now you have your sketch, and I'm doing it with the marker so it shows up a little better on TV. Sometimes you want to just do it just enough to be able to see it with a pencil. Yeah, you don't have to go too much with the other thing. Now, well, I'm going to start off with a little bit of a background, and you might want to decide what you want to do with this yourself. But I'm going to start off. We're going to use a little bit of this raw sienna. Okay, just a little bit of that. Now, I'm going to put out. I'm being kind of stingy with the paint here. Let's put a little bit more of that in here. And let's see what we can do. Sometimes I wet the background so this color slides around a little bit easier. You don't have to be too fussy with it. Okay. If you can get to a point sometime, you may want to paint a little bit more spontaneous, fluid, if you will. You know, I kind of paint that way. And lately, my style has been a little bit more like drawing it a little bit darker, so I can see it better, you know. Now, if you want to add anything else into that, let's say if we wanted to make that a little darker shade here and there, you can take a little bit more of that brown color. Okay. And this can be called bird sienna, I guess. And you can put a little bit of that in there. Okay. Let's see if I can thin this down a little bit. Yeah, you can show a little bit more darker. Usually the background might have the shadow of the flowers on one side. Okay, one side over here could be more in the shadow. Now, you can also kind of counterbalance this with the table. The table can pick up some of that color too. Now, with watercolor, if you want a color to be lighter, you don't have to put white paint in it. You just dilute it down with water. Just thin it down. Now, if you want to go in a little bit darker, you just put no water on the brush and just come back here and just make it darker. We said this side's going to be a little bit more in the shadow over here. Might be the shape of the vase, whatever. Okay. Now, here's another thing. If I don't want the color to be too heavy, I just lift it out, use the brush almost like a sponge, wipe it out. And that's where the paper towel comes in handy, right? You can wipe that right out of there. Make it as light as you want. Keep this darker if you want over here. Okay, on this side. And go from there. Now the thing with watercolor, you can always come back in and go over it. Now you can lift some of the color out with water, almost use the water like an eraser. See, if I want that not to show through so much, I just take it out of there. And even after the color dries, it can be dry for a week or two, or a month or two, or whatever. Just as soon as you hit it with water, you reactivate the color. You can't do that with everything. You can't do it with oil paint. Once that dries on, it doesn't wipe off easy. Acrylic might be the same way. That's a plastic-based paint. The oil paint, of course, is oil, obviously. And so that's about it. Now, I sometimes let it set up, I let it dry for a little while. You can come back into this and you can work it. If you want to show more of that shadow up into here, you can put that in. I'm being overly cautious here. See how you can put the shadow on the wall, okay, of the flower, whatever you want to do with it. And you can put other colors into it, you know, make it softer and whatnot. Now, a lot of times, if this is transparent, clear glass, you'll probably see the wall color coming through it. So you can put some of that color of the wall in there. And we show maybe where the water is in here. Probably use a different color for that. Okay, now, see how that's a little bit heavy? Use your brush like an eraser. And use a towel to blot it, right? You blot that right out of there if you want it to be lighter. So it's a little bit of paint, blot. It can be. That's sort of the secret. That's why I like watercolor, because it is a little bit easier to work with. No odor, and also it cleans up. You know, it's water soluble, so you can wipe it off the table. I usually put a cloth down, you know, on a plastic cover on the table, so it wipes off better. Okay, now we have to decide now what color we want these flowers to be. This one in the picture, this is sort of a yellow. These look like yellow jackets or whatever they are. I think that's in the daisy family and whatnot. If you want to keep it white, then all you have to do is just put some shadow in there and just put some color in the center. Maybe speckle it with a very small brush. One of these little thin brushes. Oh, not that one. Oh, yeah. There we go. This little guy here. It's almost like a rigger. Call them a rigger. Or just a regular brush. Now, thin brush. So you can put, you can put some little centers in if you want. Oops. Now that's kind of big, but I'm going to leave it. Looks okay. 1, 2. What did I say? We could add another little part of a bud or something in there. You'd have something else going. Make it 5. Okay. There you go. Now, so a lot of times, what you're going to do is let this dry out a bit before you kind of put another color. If you put another color on top of a wet area, it usually might blur in and smudge in or whatever. But if you let it set up a little bit, it will work out better for you. You can control it a little bit more. Now, let's see. I could keep those white if I want, like a white daisy. But if you do that, you might want to take that brush you have here, and I have somewhere here. I have what we call a Payne's Gray, or where is it? Hiding here. Is that it? I think it is. Okay. I'll put a little bit of that over here. Now sometimes your paint hardens up. So what I do is just let it sit in some real warm water, and that will get the paint loosened up a little bit. I don't want that much paint anyways, just want a couple of drops. There we go. I don't know if I got another one of these somewhere. Sometimes I put an extra tube in just in case one's not working. Let's try this one. A little bit looser. Here we go. Payne's Gray. I put 2 of those in there. Okay, now you can use some of that. You might want to go back with your smaller brush. I don't know if I want to use that one. I thought I had a real thin one in here, but not that particular one. Sometimes I don't put in a, well, I'll use that one. We'll use it. I'll have to put in a sort of an in-between brush. Now you get this Payne's gray, and you don't want to keep it that dark, so what I do is water it down over here. And all you want to do is just put some shading into it, if you want, in places wherever you want it to be. And if you want, you can take your paper towel, find a clean spot, if that's possible, or use another clean towel. Here's a clean spot. And all you have to do is pick up some of that color. Just blot it in places, okay? You have to be careful that you don't smudge it too much. Then if you have some green in there handy, sometimes you may have to take and put some blue out. Let's put some blue over here. I don't always carry green. I don't know why. Because I know I can make green with a little bit of blue. And take some yellow. Take some yellow, and I mix that into the blue. And hopefully, somehow, we could turn the blue into some green. Okay? A little bit more than that. Am I getting green yet? Yeah, somewhat darker green. Okay. And if it's dry enough, then you can start working maybe some color. Get some green in there on the stems. And you got to do some leaves. Now, you can put some leaves in there. Sometimes I just put a little dash across here. And, you know, just kind of just fill it in. Leafy. Kind of jump around a little bit. Kind of create some texture. Now, if you want to do something else, you can take another brush and using that same color, you can make some of the shapes a little different. Just kind of jump around and fill it in. Kind of just, you know, spread it around out in here. Okay, so we kind of keep it loose, you know. You don't have to get too fussy with it. Here we go. Now, if you add some more water to this thing, you can make the green different shades. Okay. Take you can either use your thin brush or you can use a marker and just make some connections here on the stems. Make sure the stems come out. Everything has to kind of have something connecting. It goes back into the water. Now, I don't know if you want. Sometimes you have colored water. You can have it colored, just colored. That's how it turns, anyways. A lot of times, but you can try it. See what you can do here. I got a little bit, I put some blue out. I'm going to put some of that green into it. See what that does. And we can have sort of an off-colored water in the vase. You might have to thin it down a little bit, pull it out. Water level should be about even at the top and come down into the jar, the vase. Kind of make it look transparent if you can. Sometimes you pull some lines into it. If you're looking at the actual object, in the vase, then you can see the reflection of the light on it. If you don't have anything available, you have to kind of just paint it in using your personal experience with what it might look like in the vase, right? I know it's going to be level across the top. Water always seeks its own level, so this in here has to be pretty flat across the top. And then how you want to break it up into here, that's up to you. Now, what I have to make sure is that if I'm going to pull the tape, I got to make sure that the edges have been filled in adequately with color. In other words, if I want to show where the edge is, I have to make sure I get some paint into it. You don't want to keep that edge open, because then it looks like it's not matted. Okay, I just break it up a little bit more. Okay, let's see, where are we? Yeah, let's do this side too. Just make sure that's got some color there. Keep that lighter over here if you want. I jump around a little bit. Okay, make sure it's all filled in right to the edge. You can leave it a little bit lighter on the inside, but you want to make sure you got some contrast down here. Right across here. Push that up into there. This is what I like about watercolor, because you can kind of dabble around, push and pull the colors around if you want, and etc. Now, how are we doing on time? Good, not bad. Okay, here we go. How about something up in this corner? Oh, now that's very dark. That's very dark. Now, we may have to do something with that. We can make that look like a border, but I want to get that out of there. I don't want really that much there. I'm repeating some of the color that's in the vase, but I didn't want to get it that heavy. So let's erase it a little bit and pull it over here. Okay. Kind of carrying the color. You put blue into some of the yellow, that's turning green up there too. There we go. Kind of quiet that down a bit. Now, if I've done something over here, that means I got to repeat it somewhere else. Some of this out of here and put it over here somewhere. Okay, I think I got that quieted down a bit. Okay. Now I can't say this is going to be my greatest work of art here, but nevertheless. Now you look at this, if you got some areas that are a little bit too much, you can always kind of fill that in. Take a little bit more of your green and just do something else in there just to fill in some of the white. You don't want to leave too much white in there. See how you can fill it in a bit. If it's too much open there. And you can have some things going off here, some stems coming out. You have to make sure it's dry though, otherwise it gets kind of smudgy. Okay. All right, now what else? You want to make the tablecloth. You might want to put a little bit more shadow in here, just around the base. Make that show up a little bit more. Again, take your towel. If it's too much, you can just lift it out, pull it around. Sometimes you can, if you don't have a brush, you can take a towel or a Q-tip, paint with a Q-tip. Challenge. It's a little bit more challenging, but it works. Okay. So now, like I said, this isn't probably my greatest work of art yet. Somebody asked me one time, what's your favorite painting you ever did? Well, I spent an awful lot of time on one painting one time when I was doing oil. And I did one of those golden retrievers, dog, just a head portrait mostly. And it took me 26 hours. I kept track of the time. Okay. Now, that's not quite dry yet in places. And make sure it gets that color on the edge. Fill that in a bit. Okay. Now, once this is dry, then I can very carefully remove the tape. Before I pull the tape, I want to make sure I got enough color in the corner here. That should be okay. I'll get some contrast there. Now you could do other little things in the background, have a part of a chair or something in the picture. Now, what I have done here, I tried to make the tape overlap so that when I pull it, it will come off easier. Here we go, come down the side. And that came out good, nice and clean. Let's do the bottom here. Ooh, go across here. Ooh, boy. It's tight. That is tight. Oh. Now, oh, my hands are clean. Now, here we go. Go across here. Sometimes the tape sticks on the back a bit. And bring that over here. Okay. Off the side. Now, you can always add more color to this if you want to. Even after you pull the tape. Okay. Now, the outer area of this here is 8 by 10. So you have an 8 by 10 frame. And you can pick up more of the color of the frame in here if you want. But we're going to tip this over here. Put the frame down. And this just has some little tabs that you can lift up, sort of like staples. Most all the pictures have these little doodads that you can turn up. Make sure you get them all. Now, normally you've got a picture that has a cut mat on it. This is a sort of a mat that's kind of improvised here. Okay, that fits right in there. You have that backing that you put on it, you know, that comes with the photo. I didn't bring one with me, but you know what I mean. If I have the same size, I'll put another. Nope, that's not the same. I think that's, no, these are different size. But nevertheless, that goes in there. We'll just put the tabs down to hold it for now. Keep it in there. But a heavier piece of board or cardboard or something that you'd put in there would keep that picture flatter. Sometimes if watercolors curl up, what you do is you wet the back and then put something on the front, and when it dries out flat again. Okay, I guess I got them all. Usually I have one of those staple guns and I add a couple more if necessary. Yeah, that has another one there. Okay, so now we turn it over. And this has that type of tiger tooth or whatever they call it. Tiger tooth, whatever. It goes across here, but that pops off easy, so you have to be careful. And so the mat and the frame helps make the painting, doesn't it? It does help. I'm just going to lay this down flat here. And right in there, that was still a little bit wet, so when I put it in there, it's going to smudge. Now, if I don't like that smudge in there, I'll take this out and just touch that up a little bit more. But that gives you an idea. The mat and the frame does make it. Now, a lot of times what you have to be careful of, I put the tape on there kind of in a hurry. See how it angles down? Well, that should be even all the way around. But when I put the tape on, I knew this was going to be just a sample, and it wasn't going to be in anybody's art show anywhere. But that would make sure you put the tape on there straight, okay? So it doesn't have a little bit of a tilt to it. But that's how you do it. Now, what I do lately, I haven't been putting my artwork into a frame with glass because it puts a lot of weight on if you carry a lot of these around. So what I've been doing, I just take the picture that I do, put it in like a clear plastic container bag, and seal it up and sell them that way. I also put the backing with it too, so to keep it flat. You don't want to carry it around, get your picture all bent up. So that's about it. Now, you see where that little spill was there? It got a little bit blurry. If you don't want that in there, you take your brush and you can pull that out, reactivate the color, right? Just reactivate it, and you can try to lift some of that out, but if that doesn't work, and we'll blot it, right? I'm getting some of that out of there. Now, if worse comes to worse, you let that dry, and you take some white acrylic. And acrylic paint is more of a opaque. It's not transparent when you thin it down with water. Take a little spot of that, and make sure this is dry in there, right? And you take another clean brush, and you could touch this up right in this area. You can hide it, paint it right out of there. Take it right out of there. Nobody in the world knows the difference. Now, any other place where you think that you put too much paint in, the finishing touches would be, let's say if you don't like that too much green in there, you just hit it right around the edges. You can take some of that out, okay? Now, a lot of times when you paint, there's certain areas that you want to hide or cover up. If you got something going wrong in here, you can take the whole stem out. Just paint it out. Okay, take it right out of there. And you can put something else back in there to replace it. And there's always the opportunity to lighten up an area by wetting it. Let's say you've got too much green in here, you don't want that to be darker. Just hit it with cleaner water. And again, make sure you got a clean towel. I don't trust that one. Take another piece of green, another towel rather, and hit the green, and you can still lighten it up. So you can take that almost out of there. If there's any little pencil mark you have left in there, sometimes you can take that out. Sometimes we take a pencil or a marker, and you can take and put back, maybe show the back of the bottle or something in there, more texture, whatever you want to do with it. You can outline some of the shapes, work over that. You can add some thin leaves in there, whatever you want to do with it. But that's how that works, okay? So this is a good way to do it. And if you make your overall picture, like this is 8 by 10, it will drop into an 8 by 10 frame. You just drop it right in there. I hope it's all dry before I do it again. But just drop this right in there, and put the backing on, and to keep it flat, and you got a finished picture. Now, the only other thing you have to do, if you don't want that tiger tooth piece in there that hangs, you hang it on. You can always put 2 eye screws across here, hook the wire, get some of that frame wire, put that across there, and then you can hang it right up on the hook, right on the nail, whatever, at home, okay? So that's a fun way to kind of do a painting, and it saves you a lot of extra work. You don't need to have a special mat cutter or anything like that. Just put the width of the tape around it, make sure it's even, like I went a little bit off the off track, but keep it nice and clean around the edge, and you can have a nice little painting. Okay, so see you next time. Brushes up, and keep painting.